Welcome to Live Laugh Talks His and Hers with Mico. Say hi, Mico.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Everybody's doing fantastic. It is so nice to have you here. But we have a special guest, don't we, Mico? We got a special guest with us today, and it's Dad. It is actually James Graham the second on the phone with us today. So, hey, Dad, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Glad to have you with us. Glad to have you with us. So, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about music's influence. The title that we have is what has rap music done for the black community. But we're not going to just talk about rap music. We're going to talk about music in general. But we want to know too, and we want to hear from our audience. About yes, there was a period before there was rap, but rap now has a 50-year history. So we want to know about what it's done for our community as well. We're going to talk about that and we're going to just kind of kick it off. I'll start it off and then we'll talk about any and everything about music and also rap's history as well as what it's done positively and negatively for the black community. So I'll just kick it off with the fact that to me, since we're in this 50-year anniversary of rap music, there's two eras. There's a pre-gangster rap, and then to me, there's post-gangster rap. It's like a BC and an AD. We had one style before there was gangster rap, and then a whole nother style that came along after, which brings us to today. But I know, just sitting around talking with Dad, he brought up the fact of music that were pre-rap, but there were individuals that influenced rap music. So I'm not going to take Dad's thunder away. We'll talk about that. So Dad, talk to me about the individuals that came along, especially during your time. That yes, they did influence rap, but they had a different message.
Well, we talk about music, what it means to black people as a whole, and always have. During certain periods of time, music was all during slavery. Music was all we had to keep us together, keep us as a person.
Hmm.
But we'll go back from that and go up to the '60s. In the '60s, you could not call a black person black. If you did, you would offend them. Then James
Hmm.
Brown came out with "I'm Black and I'm Proud." Then all of us, it changed our whole culture. We
Right.
enjoyed. We look forward to people calling us black. Everybody was happy. We spoke to each other, shook everybody's hand. We were all happy about the change in our lives. So
Right.
then we come on up to Stevie Wonder and uh, what's his name? Everything Stevie Wonder made was positive about our race. And then of course
Yes.
Michael Jackson when he made the song uh, "Man in the Mirror" and what was the other one?
They don't really care about us as
They
one
don't
to
really
me.
care about. They don't really care about us. We listen to the words, and then we'll see where we were at that time. And then we come up to the rap music. Some of it was happy music, some of it made us feel good until we get to I guess you would call it gangster rap. When you start,
Right.
when they start talking about our latest, and that's the part I didn't appreciate. So you can go from there.
Well, yeah, and we're going to and Dad, I'm glad you mentioned that about the ladies because we're going to talk about that. We need to actually talk about that issue when we talk about rap music. The misogynistic areas of it. And we'll come back to that. But like you said, that's a good way to start us off. I appreciate you bringing up James Brown, first of all, because I don't think you can make a rap song without a James Brown beat in it. Somewhere it's a sample. I don't think there's a rap song that doesn't have a James Brown sample. He was, to me, when we even said, I kind of questioned it. I went on like LL Cool J's. He has this awesome uh, Facebook and Instagram page, and I kind of typed in, when he said, "Oh yeah, let's welcome into 50 years of hip hop." I typed in, actually, it's been 60 years because we got to count when James Brown started. I mean, we can't. James Brown is hip hop, but okay, we they don't, but we will on this show. We'll talk about James. But you're right. He brought in a whole different uh, way of looking at ourselves as a people. We welcome the word black. Mico, let's piggyback off that. Tell me what you thought about that line of thinking.
I mean, it was perfect with the how he went back and through the James Brown, Michael Jackson, and then all the way up to gangster rap. Um, it just provides facts that our music is something that it expresses our experiences, our struggles, and things that we go through, and our aspirations in life. So when we hear what people are talking about, and it's on the radio, and it's mainstream, the beat brings you in, the lyrics bring you in, and just like he said, they didn't like being called black, but then once the music industry made it a big song, now all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? People like that. Okay,
Right.
nothing wrong with that. So it's very influential. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that they realized that um our music was very influential to us. And then when it came to gangster rap, they took that and made that something where, okay, so we realized that it could either make them um help do revolts and what I'm saying, fight against us, or we
Mm-hmm.
can change their mind and preoccupy their mind and have them on things that are going to bring them down. And I think that's where the gangster rap came in at.
Right. Some reason we got into the things that bring us down. Dad mentioned that about the ladies, but to me, it's a lot of things. I mean, we the violence,
Mm,
with post gangster rap, because before that, we got to go back to the 70s. So we're going to do the 50 years. We got to go back to the 70s. And the first song that comes to my mind, in the 70s was the whole, the hip hop, the hippity, the hip. That whole, that whole era of where it was dancing and we were having a good time. It was about going to the club. And then we continue to evolve and grow. To me, some of the positives that came about, and once you get into from the dance songs of the 70s, we get into the 80s, where we started having artists like KRS-One, Public Enemy, that started teaching us.
mhm.
KRS-One calling himself a teacher,
Yeah.
and so and he was actually an educator. But then he taught us about they taught us about Marcus Garvey, Huey P. Newton.
Mm,
These are names that I didn't learn when I was in school at the time. So, here I am in the 80s, and I'm in my social studies class, and I'm asking my teacher, okay, well, who is Marcus Garvey? Who is Huey P. Newton? And fortunately for me, I had an educator who was very interested in teaching Black history. And so she brought it to life, but I learned the names from home and the rap music I was listening to
mhm.
because my dad did and my mom, they kept us informed. So we had, then we learned about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. But we're learning this, we're hearing these names in songs and even quotes in songs by like groups like Public Enemy.
Right.
I mean, so I saw that going on to me in the 80s. Still, we're pre-gangster rap. I mean, what are you guys, seeing? Did you guys see any of this, or did y'all see before we got to the gangster, like a real, dance type kind of? What did you see going on in the 70s and 80s with hip hop?
Well, for me, the two that you named, I can't, I don't get into it that much, but the two that you named, the groups, they were great, and the ones that were great were good. It was something for the young people to dance and have a good time, and it brought positivity to their mind. And those are the ones that I think was positive, and it affected our kids in a good way.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay. And Miko, anything with you
I mean,
that you saw?
yeah, the same thing. You get to that what am I trying to say? Get to that militant stance where you got to the point where they were bringing people together
Right.
and
Right,
people not to take that there's a better way out there and you don't have to take it lying down.
Right.
So
Because
right.
when you get groups of people like that together and it's a music that's bringing them into that force, then you have to find a way to break that down. So I think the agenda was for us. our own agenda was to bring us together and make us a better people and to fight against things that we know were wrong.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Later on, the agenda just changed because you have people with
Right.
money, power,
Yeah.
Yeah.
influence that changes that.
Yeah. Money is an issue. Because money does change pretty much anything. And like you say, there was a fear out there, and I know you're saying a they and a them, but when we say that, we're talking about the music industry and those who influence or who own these major record companies.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and we're not gonna start naming any names or anything, but when you start thinking about when we're having groups that were talking about revolution and a positive thinking. As a matter of fact, even groups that talked about uh, protests because this country was built on protests. So then you have groups like Public Enemy who would talk about the tradition of protest. Like we've got to go out here, we've got to raise a fist, we got to say something, we can't just sit down. And then you mentioned that they wanted to change that, the they being the record industry, because they could see how if that had happened with this generation that was coming along at that time, then the changes that took so long to come along would have probably happened a whole lot earlier
Mm-hmm.
because there would have been protests. It wouldn't have been shocking for sports individuals to start taking knees
Right.
if actually in '84 when when Public Enemy is saying we got to take a knee
Mm-hmm.
that people were actually doing, but that didn't happen till the 2000s. So it's like we were way off because the music was leading people in the way of positive thinking, but then it got off track, and it got off track because money got involved. There's a record company saying, "Hey, we're gonna cut all this down." Gangster rap start coming in, and then the industry just kind of changed it going that way because that just tore down. I think what you two guys are saying, it just started to tear down the black fiber because
Exactly.
no longer were we talking about hey positive protests and doing things to make change. Now we're talking about guns and naked women and misogyny and all this other stuff that breaks down a community. Am I quoting y'all correctly?
That's correct.
Yeah, most of
Right. So what we saw though with hip hop, I'm going to mention some of the positives. There are some even throughout, and then we'll get back to the gangster rap and all that. But the positives that we've seen, we saw a change in fashion and style. Everybody was dressing like the hip hop artists. It's changed mainstream. I don't think I can watch a commercial without some rap song in it. I mean, now that's just commonplace. Back in the day, that was rare. There's financial prominence. There are black record companies that are on the stock exchange. Job increases. There's black producers, video directors, and then there's mega moguls like Jay Z, Sean Combs, um, Kanye West. So those are some of the positives. But I guess to steer us back, let's talk about the post gangster rap. So we'll talk about once we started. I'll just name who I think kind of led it in was NWA, and so now we're talking about F the police. We're talking about the ghetto as though it's a positive place to be. We're talking about women as though they're toys. And I'm not just saying NWA did that. I'm just saying they they ushered in the gangster rap, and then artists took it from there, and they just roll with it. In the pre gangster rap, hip hop artists were saying that no to drugs. You can go back and listen to Run DMC and other artists that said no, we don't take drugs. Then we get post gangster rap, and they're naming the drugs they take. And drug
Hmm.
dealing is cool as
Hmm.
well. The drug dealers was the great guys they were trying to emulate.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys feel free to just kind of chime in on where gangster rap took us as a people.
Well, since you mentioned NWA, I think they did some things that was positive and that they exposed the things that police was doing were wrong.
That's true.
You know, and then we get to the point where about money. What rap made what maybe $20 billion
Exactly.
for the industry.
Per year.
But what is it doing for when you get to downing our women? When you down our women, you down in everything that we have. 60
Correct.
or 70% of the people that was raised by women alone.
Mm,
And that's something I don't appreciate you down. Our women respect. I respect our women. I don't care if they're on drugs, uh, drunks, or whatever you would want to call them. They're still precious to us because sooner
yes.
or later they're gonna be a mother, grandmother, or whatever, and their kids love them no matter what they were. And so we
Hmm.
should respect the person no matter who they are or what their problem is. And there's so many women that have lost their way. As long as they're breathing, they can come back.
Mm,
Mhm.
I like that though. Go speak on it, Miko.
That's facts. So I think it's all about pretty much breaking down the black family. You know, it started with the
Right.
NWA, like you said. That's where the light bulb went off, where you had NWA doing gangster rap, and it caught fire with a lot of people, understanding the anger, the desperateness, and the frustration that we all have. And then you get into, okay, they were already putting black people, black men in jail, disrupting the black family. And then I've seen a couple of interviews where you have people talking about there was this big industry meeting with some major dealers in the music industry and a group of black rappers, and they were offering them these deals as far as, okay, we have this um, jail and prison is really a business, and we need to find a way to get this business going. So how do we get these people in jail to get this business going? So they coupled up with rap. And that's where you start bringing in a lot of the changes in rap. And you had some people who were disappointed with the whole idea of it all. And then you had some people that was like, this is money that we bringing in and it's going to happen regardless. So why not get the payoff at the end because of it?
Hmm.
So then you start hearing rap that influences killing, robbing, all of those
Hmm.
type of things. They
Hmm.
changed what we how we feel about people in general. You go from calling females queens to calling them bees.
Hmm.
You
Right.
you go from, your Queen Latifah type of rapper to I promise you, it seemed like all the female rappers are strippers.
Right.
And
Hmm.
and that's what little girls are looking up to these days.
Hmm.
You
Right.
know. So all of that is just a lot.
We had MC Light, pre gangster rap. We had, like you mentioned, Queen Latifah. We had Moni Love.
Mm,
We had all these women that were queens. They actually, created songs together with them being the queens in the music industry. And then now we look around, we can't find a queen. Every one of them, like you said, like Dad mentioned too, that we want to support our black women, and even when they've lost their way.
mm,
And right now, we have black women who, to me, like you just said, have lost their way. They have literally started talking about their genitalia.
mhm,
Every song is made about the genitalia. Um, it's really shameful. You can't watch even the female rap artists. You would think you would go to their music videos and it would be more censored than the ones with the men talking about the women. But then the women are doing the same thing. They're doing all this, twerking and the same stuff that you see the men talk about, and it's shameful. Do I still respect our ladies? Yes, because I know not everybody is like they are on those records. I think they're doing those records to sell records,
mhm,
but it's still shameful to see our women not understand where they come from. And I keep talking about doing this podcast. I want to stop talking about it. I'm going to do it where I'm going to talk about the lost children of slaves, because that's what we are as black people. We lost.
mhm,
We just walking around, just we don't know our names. We don't know where we came from. And if we don't know that, you don't know where you're going. And
Hmm.
that's where we at. We don't, and so to see these beautiful black women, and they are beautiful. We're just gonna say that. Beautiful black women just
But
degrading themselves. Go ahead, Dave.
but when you're selling our race, our country, and our people for money. Okay, you down our women. You talk about drugs, get other people on drugs. You talk about guns. You talk about murder, and it means nothing to you. Then we sell this where you can buy expensive clothes, expensive jewelry,
Hmm.
$1 million vehicle or whatever, and you're selling your race for money.
Say,
And that's something that I don't appreciate because you could take, if you went to a club and just you saw a young lady stripping or dancing or whatever they do, instead of making it rain or whatever they call it, why you can't take this money and offer them start them going to college, get
right.
an education, then you're saving lives, you
There you
know.
go.
And
Yeah.
that's where we need to go. We need to help ourselves, promote our people, because what we are doing, we're putting ourselves back in slavery. Nobody's doing it. If we don't help ourselves, nobody's going to help us.
Amen.
So we need to take this money and help educate our people. If you sit up here and you make, uh, you're a billionaire, whatever, uh, got millions of dollars, why you can't continue to educate these young people? That's the only thing that's going to help us.
There you go. I mean, I appreciate that. I never thought about it, but you are absolutely right that if because we got artists, we're not gonna name any names again, sports figures and stuff like that, going and you guys, I'm sure have heard about it, going into strip clubs and throwing $30,000 at somebody. You can take that $30,000 and give her a scholarship so she can get an education. I like that, and maybe and we need to make the focus education. Go back to our hip hop lyrics and make the focus getting an education instead of putting in the songs. You need to be my favorite stripper, and you need to be my girl on the side, and let's start talking about educating our people. I love that. I'm with you. I mean, why not? We've talked about everything else.
Yeah, educating it sounds beautiful, but we know that America is not about educating. And when we even think about the fact that they taking everything out of the schools as far as black people are concerned, or anything where they feel like they're going to be looked at negatively, they will do whatever they need to do by any means necessary to try to change that. So I think that that's the problem we have. Um, I don't, I don't want to blame really the artists, because I feel like when they are young and when they coming from the hood and when they are coming from nothing and you're waving millions of dollars in their face, they gonna take it. When you can say, when your mama is struggling trying to put food on the table, or you going to school with with holes in your shoes because mama can't afford it, then, well, dang, you know what I'm saying? I can do this for my mom, and I can do this for the rest of my family and bring everybody up. But then I got to do this to get this. I got to do this to get that. And some of them, they be like, I'm already in the, how much worse can it get? Or at least if it's bad, then at least I got nice things to show for the bad things that I'm going through, instead of I just got nothing to show for the life that I'm living.
I hear you. And I feel you, but I feel that America on its own is not about educating black people.
Hmm.
And I think that's the reason why Dad went there with it. That we as black people got to be thinking about that. We got to
Yeah,
worry about it. And
yeah,
when you have 107 HBCUs, this country has 107 historical black colleges and universities. Um, we need to be. We can educate ourselves,
Hmm.
even if America is not interested in it in us. Well, for instance, we talk about how hip hop influenced. I mentioned earlier how it influenced fashion. Well, why is it that it took a black man, I mean a white man, Ralph Lauren, to bring out an entire collection dedicated to HBCUs? He has had the Spelman collection, the Morehouse collection, one by one. Why didn't the hip hop artists do that? They got their own labels.
hmm,
See, because they got the microphone. They literally got the microphone. So why not use that platform in a positive way? So I've got the mic. I can talk about, you know, changing lives. I can talk about getting an education. I can talk about what it means to because you got to think most of these hip hop artists are college educated. That's the bad thing. They sit here and talk about this stuff, but you take Puffy Combs. He went to Howard University. So when you start going back and you start looking at these individuals that are college educated, even who was it that came along? He was so violent. The producer, Suge Knight. Suge Knight is college educated. He's Ivy League educated, but he chose a life of violence and crime. So, but what if he had took his Ivy League education and used it in the positive while he's standing there around Tupac and everybody else who influenced the entire nation? What if? I just still wanted the what ifs because just because somebody hands us a bunch of dollars and say, hey, go out here and be misogynistic and talk about drugs and all, don't mean we have to do it. Because now we got our own, we got Spotify, one, we got SoundCloud, we got our own platforms, we can make our own music, and we don't need a studio. Like the weekend, he didn't have a studio when he started making his music on SoundCloud. And then eventually a studio approached him, but he was already making money before that ever happened. So why can't somebody pick up the mic and do something positive like that? I mean, is that out of the norm? Am I crazy?
Well, as far as rap goes, I'm not against the rap. It's against the song that you sing. They can sing positive songs, and use the money do positive things. I'm not against that. But when you sell your soul or you
Hmm.
down your women or your race for money, I think that's wrong. We could make positive songs that still do the same thing.
That's- And that's what I feel. That's the only thing. Because I grew up,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
be
the only
honest.
problem.
I'm be honest with everybody out there who's listening. I'm a huge fan because I grew up. This was the music of my youth. So
We-
we're talking about 50 years of hip hop. Well, that's my whole life, and so
yeah,
I grew up with it.
right.
And I can sit here and name names that I fell in love with, and individuals that I met who were extremely positive. Just kind of take you there. I was in Myrtle Beach, and there was this whole Harley Davidson event, and so I look over, and there's DMC from Run DMC. I mean, he's just standing around. He's talking to people. He's a huge motorcycle enthusiast. Harley Davidson even brought him to the event, so he's there talking. And I walked up to him, and this man acted like we had known each other 20 years. I told him I did walk up to him. I was like, I'm more than a fan. Like I grew up thinking I was a third or a fourth member of the group. I was such a huge fan. And he says, I told him, I said, I would love for you to autograph something, but I just don't know what. Like, so, he makes this suggestion. He's like, right across the street over there, the outlet has an Adidas store. Why don't we just go over there and shock them? I just walk in the Adidas store with you. I mean, just like that. He was just the coolest guy. So he and I get on our Harleys. We ride over to the store, shuts the store down. I mean, if he walks in, because there are people working in the Adidas store. They know about the song, my Adidas and all that, but they ain't never seen him before. And he comes walking in the store. Just people just lost it, and I bought a pair of shoes. He signed them, and just I just thought that was, and he just signed it. He wrote like, James, so nice to meet you, enjoy that trip, all of this. And on the front of the shoe, and I got that shoe in my house. I mean, I cherish it. It's just this guy was so nice, was awesome, and so influential on so many people. So, he's just one. There's so many of our hip hop artists that are just amazing human beings. So we're not cutting down rap, but what we would like to see, and I'll just say it for all three of us. I mean, y'all chime in, but what we like to see is some change so that we can continue to uplift our people.
There.
That's what we like.
Hmm. I just don't think it's
Because I
gonna happen no time soon. I think that money has become a big influence in the business, and they basically, like you said, they basically selling their soul. You get this amount, and this is what you're going to do for it. And then not only that, I mean, it's just bad because not only do you sell your soul for that moment, even after death, they have a death clause where everything that you've done previously, they get paid off of that. So really,
Mhm.
you get more
Yeah.
once you
Mhm.
die than they had when you were alive making the money. Because think about it, in death, people start celebrating your death and what you used to do and what you made. So they start buying your records all over again, wearing
Mhm.
your
Right.
wearing your t-shirts and buying things with your name on it. So they start making what you couldn't do for them in life, they start making it in death.
Yeah, that's isn't that something?
Yeah.
But like you said, sadly, it probably won't happen in our lifetime. I would like to see that though, because what an awesome music form that got its roots deep in soul music. And that we talked about James Brown earlier. We talked about Stevie Wonder. I've heard him, his music as well as his voice used in hip hop songs. And like Dad mentioned, we take black music all the way to slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Once when we go back to slavery, the beautiful music that was created was music of hope.
Yes.
We're talking about a people that are being killed and raped, maimed, and eaten even by animals. But they sung beautiful music of hope that we can sing down to this day. Um, we are a resilient people, a beautiful people.
Mhm.
And we've seen music change from that to jazz to R&B to soul, and I'm just going to claim it. I mean, I know we're going to get a lot of writers in, but black people created rock and roll. I'm sorry, it happened.
Mhm.
I love Metallica, I love the Stones and all that, but if they're going to be honest, and Mick Jagger has been, it started in the black community. Uh, we could go back to Chuck Berry, um, BB King. They started rock and roll, and so many others that we would have to be on for a long time to sit and talk about everybody. But we had individuals that's influenced the music as a whole, every genre, be it
Mhm.
black country singers. They just wasn't getting played on the radio, and
Right.
we've had every genre of music. Black people have contributed and or dominated or invented.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I would just like to see. And we're talking about hip hop because that's what it's the 50th anniversary. But music overall, if black people would make more positive songs, and we do have artists that's out there doing it. But like you mentioned, money is powerful. So some of these artists that's out here doing it, they're not making the money these artists that's out here selling their souls make.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the problem lies. Because now we're talking about $1 billion industry.
Mm.
Anytime you put that B in front of a number,
Mhm.
it starts, it make people change. Whatever that industry is, you say billion, now people gonna start doing some corrupt stuff. And that's what's happened because now we've got black people, moguls, making billions of dollars off of this music. And they not about to change it anytime soon. Like you said, they ain't gonna start making some righteous music because they don't want to lose that money.
The money.
But going back to what Dad said, I want to bring up, again, a person who was post gangster rap and he glorified our women. And that is Tupac. Every day of my life somehow I seem to quote Tupac because I think that he was very influential. But the beautiful words, if we go back and we look at the words of Dear Mama, like where Dad had mentioned, even if a woman's lost her way, where his mama had lost her way, she became a crack fiend. And what did Tupac say about her? He still loved her
He
regardless.
still loved her.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless. And even though Mama was a crack fiend, Mama, she was a black queen, Mama. That's what he said. And notice how he felt about his daddy. He said he gave us 15 verses in Dear Mama, but he only gave 2 verses to his daddy. He said he was a coward. He couldn't even cry when he died. He wasn't there, you know. But he glorified his mother. He gave homage to women, and he also said we are a race. We're raising a race of babies that hate the ladies. Is
Mm-hmm.
what Tupac said.
Right. Right.
And Tupac's been gone almost 30 years. And if he wasn't a prophet, I don't know who he is. He said it and it's happening. That's what we're doing. We're raising a race of babies that hate the ladies. And that's what's happening with our men, our young men. And like I tell you guys, you guys know about me in the school system and volunteering and being there. I have my main conversation that I have with young men is I need you to respect your teacher. And I'm usually talking about the female teachers when I say that. 9 times out of 10, our young people despise women. I've seen them threaten the female teachers, stand up in class, call them names, all kinds of nonsense because we have raised this race who hate women. And I used to say I don't know where it's coming from, but I do. I hear it in the music.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's saying. And music does have an influence on people, whether we want to believe it or not. We can go back to biblical times. It influenced people. So we can't say, well, just because an artist makes some music and they say something, oh, that's just how he feels. That don't know. It influences people.
Yeah.
It can move people.
Mm-hmm.
They use music in war. They use music to soothe. They use music for a lot of different
Yes, those cadence. When we go marching, that's what we marching to.
Hmm.
things. Yeah, yeah. I forgot I was talking to two veterans.
Mm,
Yes, true. That's what you marching to music, right?
that's right.
So it's music is powerful, but
Yeah.
just like a knife, you can take it and use it for the good, or you can use it to kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
yes,
that's what we're doing now.
if you want to get anything out quickly, what do? You make a song.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, you make a song about it.
Get it to the.
So that's what we have to do. We have to start looking up to our ladies, our black women, because they're the strongest women in the world. They've done so much, been through so much, and we still, no matter what problems they have, we need to help them solve it and get back to the way they should be. I always have and always respect women, no matter what they do, and hoping that they get back to being the lady that they were raised to be.
Yeah, and I think that's why the focus is on us now, women, because they try to break the family down by breaking us apart and putting the men, displacing the men
Yeah,
family,
Yes,
and then the
that-
women stepped up.
that's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? And we became very independent, very strong willed. And then they were like, okay, so now we have to take them down because we didn't expect that. We expected
Yeah,
the family to break down and not for them to step up. So then
yes,
we get us being called bees. You
right,
know what I'm saying?
right.
Instead of being
And
a professional woman and going to college, now it's, oh, you can become a stripper and make all this money in one night. You know?
Sad.
Yeah.
that's that's where our men have to step up, and this don't let them put our women and don't put our women down ourselves, and don't let anyone else do it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I got
Agreed.
I got 16. She's 16. I got one that's 17, nieces. And when I tell you they love the music, they love, that's what they follow. I mean, they follow it like a little ritual. I catch them shaking their little booty. What you doing?
Mm-hmm,
You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? Putting on the makeup, putting on the wigs, and, the hairstyles, and making sure they show just enough cleavage or just enough, the short shorts or whatever. And I'm like, if you want somebody else to respect you, you gotta learn to respect yourself.
There you go.
There you go.
Exactly.
You know.
There you go.
Hmm.
And it's got to start I like where you got it. It's starting at home
Right.
and with a parental figure saying, "Hey, no, we're not doing it." It shouldn't be left up to school administrators or somebody else to say your daughter got to come back home because of how she's dressed.
Hmm.
It should start at home. I appreciate that. Well, I thank you guys. And what an informative conversation this has been. What a beautiful one. And to have two different generations sitting here talking about such a powerful music form, and want to remind folks that we're not talking about it. We're not being negative. We love the music form. Even the individual sitting here, my dad, he is very familiar with many artists, and we talk about several artists. He and I have even had discussions of our favorite hip hop artists over the years. And
Mm-hmm.
so we've said I talked about stuff like that, and our conversation always come back to Tupac. And I've noticed that we've both always have come back to to Tupac. I know I've named some other rappers, and Dad'd be like, I don't even know what he's saying after that. I know one I ain't gonna say one prominent rapper, but Dad's like his list, but I don't even like
Mm.
I don't even know what he's saying. And y'all probably know who I'm talking about. But we always say he was quite the poet. Yeah, quite the poet. So, and Dad and I both always loved poetry. We both write poetry. So, yeah, of course we've loved several artists that have come along, and we want to see more. We just want to see a lot more positivity, a lot less negativity, and get back to the roots of hip hop, where we were talking, where it came from. It came from people having a hard upbringing and wanting to see change.
Mm.
That's where it came from. And whether they were singing in the club and partying, and we just hate that back in the day, these guys, if on a good night, made $1,000 in their live performances. Now they're billionaires, and as to kind of sum it all up, money has influenced the industry, because now these, when you start talking about billions, there comes the problem,
Mm.
the corruption. So, any last words or anything you guys would like to say about that or each other or whatever else?
Well, only thing I can see is I enjoyed it, and anybody who's listening feel down or think there's nobody, always remember nobody is nobody.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's a
We're all somebody.
we're all somebody.
Thank you, Daddy. That's a powerful way of putting it. You sound like Jesse there. I miss Jesse. Jesse said, "We are somebody."
yeah.
Mika,
Yes. This was a very good show, very informative. Um just let the people know, you know what I'm saying, that it's hard out here, especially if you want to get into the music business. But I don't see a change coming real soon, but I do see changes coming. You can now do streaming, as you guys talked about, earn your money that way, and put things out on your own and not necessarily go through the industry that actually do it. You may not make as much money, but you want to satisfy yourself and the people. And I think the
yes.
do that is to do it on your own and not worry about what somebody else can give you, but what you can give yourself.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And we've seen it. It's a black person brought that not only to our realization, but he brought it to fruition. That was Prince.
Mm-hmm.
Prince wrote "slave" on his face while he was with Warner Brothers, and then broke away. And till his death, he was streaming his own music.
Right.
And he brought it to a reality. And now that's what we do. That's the norm.
Mm.
So, thank you for bringing that. But I appreciate both of you guys. I mean, it's so awesome. Have been really wanting Dad to come on the show for some time. It's always a joy. We've had now you on two times. That's beautiful. Um, Miko, it's a joy each week. And as I always ask you to do, say good night, Miko.
Good night, Nico. Thanks for coming, Dad.
Thank you. Good to hear your voice.